Hi guys, this is Pestily and welcome to another Escape from Tarkov video. Today I have the latest on the SOFTCORE changes coming to Tarkov this week. There's a fair few things to go over and that's all I've really got to go over. So without further ado, let's crack straight into it. Alright, so starting off, if you probably want to keep up to date for any of the latest in Tarkov information, I would highly recommend going over to Nikita's personal Twitter account. That's the COO, I think he is, or the CEO. He's the something of BSG. And yeah, he pretty much is the guy running all the show. They don't seem to put this information out on their other socials, the actual game social, the Tarkov one, or this is the Tarkov one, or the actual Battlestate Games one. My personal thoughts is most likely Nikita doesn't have access to those accounts and he's just sitting on his couch yapping away with his mates or whoever, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this like information public. And so that's why at best we get retweets on, this is the Tarkov account. There's no actual information about that at all. And then the Battlestate Games account, which is like the studio account, retweets Nikita's tweets. So starting off, if you want the latest information firsthand, probably the best place to do it is Nikita's personal Twitter account. So what happened is a few days ago, about a day and a half ago now, 2 days, he posted that SOFTCORE changes are happening on the next week, approximately around the 8th of October. Then a day and a half later, posted this image, which is SOFTCORE road to release. And then last but not least, and also during this tweet, he was saying the changes will be pretty big list posted later. And now we have the list of changes. So here's the list of 4 upcoming SOFTCORE changes. Decreased inertia. The greater the overload, the greater the reduction. Reducing of inertia up to 70%. So if you haven't played Arena lately, they did a massive overhaul on how inertia works. Some actually really good changes. In particular, the one I like the most is whilst you're sprinting, you can literally just right click and you'll, instead of having to stop sprint to then aim down sight, you will literally from full sprint, bring up your gun and go back to a walking pace, but aiming down sight. A lot of actual really good changes, like quality of life changes of the actual movement system. It is a lot faster paced though on Arena now. So I imagine some of that stuff will come across to the main game, hopefully sooner rather than later. Next one, increase carry weight by 50%. So right now, you don't even really go into the issues, even at level 1 strength, till about 45-ish kilo. So 50% would probably put it around the 60 to 65 kilo mark before you're actually going to run into any issues. And on the higher end, you're probably sitting around 110 to 120 kilo before you are pretty much unable to move. They've added barters for various goods to traders at loyalty level 2 for dog tag. So have to wait and see what that is. Reduced aim punch by 60%, which is another thing that happened over in Arena. There are some examples out there, but effectively the way it works is now it's kind of, you get a little bit more blurry, but your aiming is pretty much exactly the same point of aim. So when you do get hit, it's quite easy to still just shoot through it, which is more, it's less aim punch, but it's more like fast pace. If you play it, you'll understand. Increase the quantity of items in areas with valuable items. So this is locked rooms, marked rooms, that kind of thing. Increase the quantity of bag containers and stashes in locations. So this could be your hidden stashes around the map, the caches, or just duffel bags spawning more frequently. When they did the overhaul of dynamic loot, this is a few years back now, probably about 2 years. It used to be that like a duffel bag was always there. That's how the game was. Then they did this overhaul of dynamic loot, and then they had like 4 spawns in a room where a duffel bag would spawn. And I think their intent was to do it like it is now. You'll have like 1 or 2. But when they first initiated this dynamic loot thing, you'd have as many as like 6 duffel bags in the one room. It was like actually quite insane. So I've got a feeling that we'll probably go back to that situation where just like duffel bags are spawning everywhere. Weapon crates are everywhere. Added the spawning of weapon cases and other type of cases in marked rooms. So back in the day, item cases and weapon cases spawned in marked rooms, and then they removed it. You were no longer able to put those into your backpack. I used to do runs, this is ages ago. I used to do runs of labs with a thick item case, and I would try and loot the entire like amount of items in labs, just as a bit of fun. This is way back in the day, but now you're going to be able to get weapon cases again, which means you should be able to put weapon cases in your backpack and from the marked rooms. Colored access cards spawn more frequently in the laboratory. At the moment, I know there's a red key card spawn in blue. Then there's like, that's a newer added one. There is actually 3 black keycard spawns in labs, and then there's 3 green keycard spawns in labs. I think if you go to my Twitch channel, do !lab keys or keys labs, you actually see the old YouTube video. I'll make it up the top. You can actually go check out the spawns. If they spawn more frequently, then I would be checking those locations first. All types of items can be traded on Flea Market. This will be huge. People will be able to sell 995 again, like the best M4 ammos. People will be able to sell anything they want on the Flea Market. This is free trade. So I actually prefer Flea Market like that. I think having all the restrictions gets a little confusing. Flea Market being available from level 10 will be massive when it comes to, for players that are either newer to the game or slower progressing, they'll have access to everything, literally everything, because all items will be traded on the Flea Market, and the minimum number of slots in the Flea Market is 5. So at the moment, if you go to the Flea Market, it's quite empty because you can only sell 2 things at once or 3 things at once. And it's kind of painful and frustrating. Now, with everyone having the minimum of 5, I imagine the barter trades items getting flooded again, reducing the cost of a lot of items, but also with the ability to sell any item in the game. You can also flip items from traders again. So you'll be able to buy like 856A1, chuck it straight up on the Flea Market. I used to have a really big list that I used to buy and sell. I used to make, I think it was about 2 million a reset, and it worked out really well. So you should be able to do that. Increase skill progression speed. I'm hoping that this stays in long term. I honestly think like strength and endurance levels at a pretty decent standard. Same with metabolism. But there's certain things like mag drills, some of the weapon skills, they just take forever. Like hideout management, pretty much have to keep fuel going in your hideout for about 3 months to get it max over a wipe. And if a wipe is like 5 to 6 months long, you have to play pretty much the entire wipe, fuel running 24/7 just to get it to max. And then by the time you get it max, you played so much, you don't need it max anymore. So it's interesting. So I'm really hoping the skill progression, particularly for the skills that leveled really shit, gets permanently put up, not just for this experience. Increase the experience multiplier per raid completion. So default is 1.5x, a death is 1x. And then for the hardcore wipe, they made a death 0.5x. Instead of 1x. They might make it 2. It means you get some pretty massive raids if you're killing scav bosses. So streets raids, you should be able to get some pretty big numbers. Then last but not least, the hardcore wipe achievement will no longer be available for completion. So if you want to get that hardcore achievement, you're probably going to have somewhere between 24 and 48 hours from this video going live to get that achievement. And the first achievement is all traders level 2. The second achievement is the Kappa container. So that is what it is. Now, the biggest question that comes from all of this is what of this stuff will stay for the actual release and what won't. Most people are leaning towards majority of it going away just because Nikita keeps bringing up this whole Tarkov's meant to be hardcore, yada, yada, yada. So I'm hoping we find somewhere in the middle ground, a happy medium, and there's not a knee-jerk reaction. Stuff like the inertia being decreased, I think that would be good for the actual entirety of the game. I think it would help people move around a bit more and the flow of the game. The weight stuff I think would be nice. It doesn't have to be 50%, but even just a little bit would be nice. The aim punch and inertia and quality of life changes from arena definitely would be nice to bring that over permanently. And then the quantity of items, particularly in locked rooms, should stay in the game. I hate opening up multiple locked rooms. Like I've got every key for, say, resort. I'll open up every room and the best things I'll be getting is like Saluas and some morphine. Like I'm not getting very, like it used to be back in the day, I would do shoreline and I would loot on average like a Ledex a raid or at least something like a D-Fib a raid. It'd be nice to be constantly going back to the point where we're fighting over these high tier loot areas instead of just searching duffel bags in the middle of the village in hope that we find something decent. It's a pretty crazy busy time for me in life, but I will be streaming the softcore changes as soon as I can. I do have to take a couple of days off in the meantime, and Battlefield is out in a couple of days as well, and I'll be smashing out Battlefield. So come over to my Twitch stream. I'm actually live streaming on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube now. I stream on all 3. It's just Pestily on Kick and Pestily live on YouTube. So come over and say g'day on those. But yeah, I'll be away for the next probably 48 hours, and then I'm going to be back in full steam and having a lot of fun. So like, comment for the YouTube algorithm, keeps you up to date for the latest Tarkov stuff. I have a massive pre-1.0 event coming up, and hopefully you guys are excited for it because we're bringing back the Tarkies. We're bringing back, we're doing a full history of Escape from Tarkov, which I'm in the process of making at the moment, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, like, comment, notification bell, and lastly, I'll see you next time.